Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Welcome to another session of Islamic Perspective where we answer the questions that are sent to us on the program. We start with our first question for today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When is it permissible for a sick person to break the fast? Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. We know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِنْ أَيَّامِ الْأُخَرِ. So if a person was sick or was traveling, then it is permissible for him to break the fast and make up a day after Ramadan. But the question is, what type of illness will allow you to break the fast in Ramadan? Is it any illness? طيب. Scholars have agreed that minor illness like a small headache is not an excuse for you to break your fast, unless it was something severe. Yani they gave an example for a fever, a strong fever, طيب, which drains you out, which requires medication, or which makes it very difficult for you to abstain from food and drink. In this case, it is permissible for you to break your fast and make up a day after Ramadan. So what is the criterion? What is the effective cause for this illness that will allow you to break your fast? Scholars said if this illness is affected by fasting. If this illness was affected by fasting. And for example, if a person had a toothache. Now, this toothache in itself, it has nothing to do with fasting. So you're going to struggle and suffer whether you're fasting or not. But a person says, no, Sheikh, this toothache is severe. I need to take some medication, as in I need to take some painkillers. And I cannot stand it. In this case, it is permissible for him to break his fast, to take medication, for this illness. But if it was something that is unaffected, a minor toothache that, he said, no, I can take it without any issues. So in this case, it is permissible for, he has to abstain and continue his fasting. So scholars said, it's illness, if fasting will delay your cure. So if fasting will delay your cure, or if fasting will make this illness more severe, then it's permissible for that person to break his fast and to make up a day after Ramadan. Wallahu a'lam. طيب. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Does donating blood and analyzing blood spoil the fast? Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. So this person is asking about extracting blood or taking blood, whether we're talking about blood samples for tests, or whether we're talking about donating blood, which is a larger amount of blood. So in this case, taking blood, طيب, does this break your fast? Wallahu alam, in the opinion of the majority, this does not break your fast. طيب, in the opinion of the majority, this does not break your fast. Now we have the Hanbali madhab. The Hanbali madhab, we know that the famous matter in the Hanbali madhab is cupping. Cupping breaks the fast. Cupping in the Hanbali madhab breaks the fast. The majority say it does not break the fast. But contemporary scholars from the Hanbali madhab said that, okay, in the madhab, cupping does break the fast. But is the reason for this the extraction of blood, or is there another reason? The scholars of the Hanbali madhab, the recent contemporary scholars of the Hanbali madhab looked at the effective cause and said, it's not clear that the matter is regarding extracting blood. So they said even on the madhab, taking blood for testing, blood sample for testing, or for donating blood, inshallah, this does not break your fast. So a person can say that inshallah, with the will of Allah, if a person donates blood or he takes some blood for testing, to get some blood tests, so this inshallah does not break your fast. Move on to our next question. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Do eye, ear and nose drops break the fast? Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. So this person is asking about eye drops, ear drops and nose drops. Do they break the fast? Now this is, there's a lot of dispute among the early scholars, for example, regarding eye drops and ear drops. Ear drops, because previously it was thought that there's a connection between the ear and the brain, but due to technical technology advancement, we have known now for a fact medically that there is no connection between the ear and the brain. That's why many of the scholars said uh, eardrops do not break the fast. Eardrops do not break the fast, because given that a person has a proper eardrum, unless the eardrum was torn and the liquid did enter, then in this case it breaks the fast. But for a normal person who has, alhamdulillah, a healthy eardrum, eardrops do not break your fast. Eardrops do not break your fast. But what about nose drops? Nose drops, if it's going to be going inside, we're not talking about the surface of the nose. We're talking about drops that will be entering the nose inside. So they said this does break your fast. This does break your fast. And there's a connection between the nose and the throat. That's why the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ has said, وَبَالَغْ فِي الْإِسْتِنْشَاقِ إِلَّا أَن تَكُونَ صَائِمًا. So he gave an advice for a person who's going to be doing madmada and istinshaq, washing the mouth and nose. He said, do not exaggerate in sniffing the water inside. Do exaggerate in sniffing the water inside unless you were fasting. Unless you were fasting. So this shows that the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ has given us precautions for a person who's fasting not to sniff in water, so for it not to enter the throat. طيب, the final point we have here is eye drops. Eye drops is a matter of dispute among the early scholars. Some madhab said it breaks the fast, especially if you find the taste. Others said, some madhab said it breaks the fast if you find the taste. Other madhab said it does not break the fast even if you do find the taste. Now, contemporary scholars said that that eye drops, especially the fiqh councils, they said that eye drops do not break your fast, because they said the amount that reaches the throat is minimal. Even if you find the taste, what actually reaches the throat is something so negligible. So they said that eye drops do not break the fast. Wallahu a'lam. Wallahu a'lam. طيب, we move on to our next question. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Does an insulin injection break the fast? Does an insulin injection break the fast? Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. People who are struggling or with diabetes, may Allah Azza wa Jal grant them shifa. May Allah Azza wa Jal make this fasting easy on them. May Allah Azza wa Jal strengthen them for worship. It depends. Not all people are the same. Struggling with diabetes, some people cannot fast. It's very dangerous for them to fast. They might get extremely low blood sugar, and it's very dangerous for them. So if that was the case for such people, then they are never able to fast. So for them, it's permissible for them, because they have an excuse for them to not fast Ramadan, but they have to feed one poor person for every day that passes, for every day of Ramadan. They can do it in Ramadan, they can do it at the start of Ramadan, they can do it after Ramadan. طيب, it's all permissible, inshallah, to feed one poor person for every day of Ramadan that they broke. So this is regarding a person struggling with diabetes. But for a person who's able to fast, but needs to inject some insulin injection while fasting. For this case, a person may inject. Scholars said that insulin injections, they do not break the fast, because it is not food, it is not drink, it is not taken in the throat. طيب, it's an injection under the skin, or if it was intramuscular, both do not break the fast. So it's not food or drink, and it is not in the meaning, or it doesn't have the same influence as food and drink for a person. So they said this also does not break the fast. Wallahu a'lam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Does taking an injection break the fast? Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Injections in general, if we're talking about medical injections, medicine, so not food and drink, and not nutritious injections, these in general do not break the fast. These in general do not break the fast. Where the issue is IV, intravenous injections, or medication that is taken intravenous. Now here we have to pay attention. You might find many scholars saying medicine taken through IV does not break your fast. Yes, medicine taken through IV does not break your fast, but the problem is that many of the medication is mixed with saline. So this is a solution of water and salts and some minerals طيب, it might also contain glucose. It might not contain glucose. So this solution hydrates the body and it is nutritious. So if it is given through the vein, definitely it is nutritious. Definitely it does break your fast. So sometimes for certain medical procedures, the medicine is mixed with some saline and taken through the vein. If that's the case, then it breaks the fast. طيب, does that mean we should not take the medication? If you are required, for example, some heavy fevers require you to take such medication directly in the vein to reduce the fever. So if that and to hydrate the body, if that was the case, then it is permissible for you to break the fast and for them to give you this medicine through the vein, and you have to make up one day after Ramadan. طيب, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not overburden his servants. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, and you make up one day after Ramadan. طيب, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ruling on tasting food for the fasting person. طيب, Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. If a person was fasting, طيب, is it permissible for him to taste the food, or will that make his fasting invalidated, or will it affect his fasting in a bad way? Well, we said that fasting, a person abstains from food and drink from dawn all the way to sunset. And when we say abstaining from food, it's not food entering the mouth, it's food reaching the throat. Food reaching the throat. So this is what invalidates the fasting. And we take the example of water. If a person puts water in his mouth, does he break his fast? Think about it. Water that you use for wudu. You take water in your mouth, you do madmada, you wash your mouth, and then you spit it out. Does this break your fast? This does not break your fast. Okay, and the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did it. The Messenger Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us to perform wudu while fasting. There are no issues in this. Where's the issue? The issue is that if water enters the throat, if water enters the throat, then a person breaks his fast. So here, this person is asking on tasting food. If the food was tasted, of course, he used the tongue to taste the food. If a person tasted the food and then he spat it out, he did spit it out, it did not reach his throat, then his fasting is preserved and there is no makeup required for him. Wallahu a'lam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Is makeup required for someone who vomited during Ramadan fast? طيب, Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. So the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned that man istaqa'a. So he said, alayhi salatu salam, that a person who caused himself to vomit, then he has broken his fast. A person who caused himself to vomit, then he has broken his fast. So this means if a person was, for example, dizzy, he felt dizziness, and then he vomited, as a result of this dizziness, him vomiting in itself does not break his fast. But if a person intentionally did put his hand in his mouth, which led him to vomit, no, this action breaks your fast. The Messenger Muhammad differentiated between these two actions. So we say that vomiting in itself does not break your fast, but putting your hand in the mouth, causing yourself to vomit, this action breaks your fast. Allahu A'lam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can I eat and drink during the adhan? Can I eat and drink during the adhan? Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. We know that a fasting person needs to abstain from food and drink from dawn all the way to sunset. The ruling is not tied to an adhan, it is tied to sunset. And we know that sunset is the time of Maghrib adhan. Sunset is the time of Maghrib adhan, and usually adhan is on time. So if we know that adhan is on time, then if we know that adhan is on time, dawn adhan, fajr adhan, and sunset adhan, then it is not permissible for a person to eat or drink as soon as the true dawn starts. The true dawn is the time of fajr adhan. It is when if the country has two adhans, it is the time of the second adhan. Like for example, in Mecca and Medina, they have two adhans. The first adhan, which is 30 minutes or 20 minutes before the true adhan, before the time of Fajr. The second adhan is at the time of Fajr. So if you hear the second adhan, then definitely this is the time that a person should stop from eating or drinking. Now, your question is, can a person eat at the time of adhan? If the adhan was on time, then it's not permissible for you to eat. And if you had food in your mouth, you should spit it out and preserve your fasting. طيب. But if you know for a fact, and not speculation, if you know for a fact that the adhan in your place, in your country or in your area is before the real adhan by 1 minute or 2 minutes, here, you're risking it. Because the ruling is tied to dawn. So if the adhan was before the time of before the time of Fajr, then it's still permissible to eat and drink. But if you know that the adhan was on time, then it's not permissible for you to eat and drink. And in Muslim countries, usually, if the authorities tells you that the adhan is on time, it is not your responsibilities to go and check if this adhan is on time or not. You take their word. You take their word for it and finish. You have to abstain from food and drink once you hear the adhan. Once you hear the adhan. And if you are eating or drinking and you hear the adhan, you spill what's in your mouth and you preserve the adhan. And you preserve your fasting. Now regarding, some people might say, Sheikh, we know a hadith that the Messenger Muhammad said, if anyone was eating, had a vessel in his hand, and the prayer call starts, then he should continue eating and drinking until he finishes what's in his hand. Some scholars said this is understood as in not the true dawn. So they said this is not the final adhan of Fajr. This is before that. طيب, this is before that. But what is clear in the Quran, فَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكُمُ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ مِنَ الْفَجْرِ. So it's clear in the Quran that a person eats and drinks until dawn starts. Until dawn starts. So once dawn starts, you're not allowed to eat and drink. Wallahu a'lam. طيب. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Is it permissible for an elderly person to break the fast? طيب. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. So this person is asking about elderly people. Or is it permissible for them to break the fast? We know that old people who are unable to fast may break their fast and they need to make up one day. But if he's unable to make up one day, he needs to feed one poor person for every day that he fasts. Inshallah, we'll talk about this question more in detail tomorrow, inshallah. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. جزاكم الله خيرا.